Today we're going to be reviewing Dehancer's Lightroom plugin. We're going to be comparing it with what typical camera you would use in order to use Dehancer, but we're also going to be comparing it towards 3 different types of film stock that you would typically shoot if you're shooting film.
The 3 main film stocks that we're going to use today are pretty common. In Dehancer, you'll see a lot of different options available, but the 3 most common ones that I found in there are Ilford HP5 Plus black and white film, Kodak Portra 400, and Cinestill 800T. Black and white is typically pretty affordable. At the time of filming, I think I paid between $10 to $12 per roll at this time. For a Portra 400, you're looking at between $17 to $20 a roll in most places. Some places will charge you up to 22 bucks a roll, depending on where you're buying from. For Cinestill 800T, you're looking at somewhere around the $20 a roll region. Could be less, could be more, it depends on where you buy.
We're gonna start shooting and we're gonna try to shoot some comparable shots so you guys can see how to get the film look with Dehancer.
For some of the test shots, we're gonna do some really clinical shots where we'll be adapting the same lens from this camera to the Canon R6 Mark II. That way you can see a direct comparison optically of what it's gonna look like.
So right now we're shooting an R6 with a Voigtlander 50mm f1.2. And so I have Lori right here and she's gonna be our model. We're gonna shoot this with the same settings as we get on the actual film camera as well. So right now, typically I would expose with like a faster shutter speed, but with the Leica, we can only shoot at 1/1000th of a second. So we're gonna do the same thing on this just to compare apples to apples. Baby, you're so pretty. There you go. And do a close up, smile. Nice. And love it. Sweet.
So what's great about digital cameras is that you get like eye detect, face detect autofocus. You don't have that here. Now go ahead and hand like this, kind of lean your head over. There we go. Yep, that's good. So I'm right underneath f4. I could be at exactly f4, which would probably be better on the digital camera. But I feel like film needs just a little more light. Which it really does. Digital cameras can recover shadow details, whereas film cannot. The great thing about this is that if I screw this up, if I didn't load the film right, I just won't have the pictures. You know, you can't really just check, right? So this is probably the most common black and white film there is. With black and white, you really don't want to miss exposure. If you overexpose, those details are gone. Okay, this is like a lot more difficult than shooting portrait. You really want to nail your exposure on this. What's cool about black and white though is that if you drown out your shadow details, everything kind of becomes like a black blob, and it's kind of cool. So I wouldn't necessarily use black and white out here, but for testing reasons, we'll use it. Let's see.
Yeah, hold your glasses, look at me. Eyes at me. There we go. Love it. Love you looking out. Look at me. But a little bit cheat towards, a little bit towards camera. There it is. That's it. That's the look. Smile. Okay guys, now we're gonna start our studio test. So we have some lights behind Lori, and we're gonna see if we can get some of this stuff to halate red, because we have some Cinestill 800T with the remjet removed. So we're gonna supposedly supposed to get some red halations in the back, and we're gonna try to do that with Dehancer in post as well. So let's see how this looks. Okay, give me like a...
And try to do some shots from far away too, just because. Yeah, the minimum focusing distance on that lens is kind of pathetic. I've loaded Cinestill 800T into my camera. Cinestill 800T is Kodak Vision 500T cinema film that has had the remjet layer removed. The remjet layer is the anti-halation layer that helps keep the film looking clean in films, I guess. Another thing about Cinestill 800T is that the T stands for tungsten. This film is balanced for tungsten light, as in warm indoor lighting. If you shoot this outdoors, everything will look blue. One of the downsides of film is that you make the commitment to the white balance. So like films that are good for daylight will look great in daylight, and then indoors, they may look really orange. In this case, if you're in the orange lighting, this would be your best bet. We have the lights kind of warm already, the way Richard set it up. So we'll see how it looks. I think that this might actually still be a little blue. We'll see. So what's funny is that I don't really know if this is going to halate. Whenever I do a shoot where I'm deliberately trying to cause halations to happen, I take the same shot like 3 times and I expose what I think is correct. I expose over, and sometimes I'll expose under or even further over. Whatever it is, I have to usually have my digital camera with me to make sure that I am comparing settings and getting the exposure absolutely perfect, which is kind of like the downside of this, and you kind of have to like take extras just in case if you screwed it up. Let's see.
We are here in the editing room. Michael just spent hours actually physically developing all this stuff with an actual scanner. He actually went through the process of spending hours to process.
So I got C41 chemicals. I already had them. I develop film pretty often. But yeah, so I developed the color film and also did the mono bath for the black and white film.
As you saw earlier, we took photos with the Leica using Portra 400, and then we have right here on the right side the R6 with the same lens.
Voigtlander 50mm 1.2 M mount.
And so I'm going to show you what it's like to throw Dehancer on this. And by the way, this is going to be like what it actually looks like whenever you get it in there. And the whole idea is like, do you have to go through all this time in order to get that actual film look, or could you actually just buy Dehancer and get it at home and have all the conveniences of shooting digital? So right here, we just open Dehancer, make a copy in Lightroom, and it opens up the plugin just like this. And right here, you get several options. So on the right side, you can see all these different tools in order to get that film look. And then on the left side right here, you can see all these different types of film stocks. So we're gonna look for Portra 400 in order to match what we actually shot.
You know what's really neat is that there's a lot of film stocks on here that I'm seeing that are very desirable that you can't buy anymore. Like if you buy it, you can buy like someone's old stock that they've refrigerated maybe, but it's like,
yeah,
this stuff doesn't, they don't make it anymore.
Here's the thing, on the left side, you can see right here, we have the film type that we have. And right here, what Dehancer did is, if you go all the way to the left, this is basically pulling like one stop and pushing one stop of the actual film. This is kind of just sliding between how that would look like.
I'm guessing this is like if you keep your film in the chemicals for longer or shorter. Exactly. I'm not sure if that's exactly how it looks because I don't push and pull, but
yeah. But that was the process they did in order to create this slider. So you'll notice right away that you actually don't get the exact look straight off the bat whenever you use Dehancer and just throw a film profile on. You actually need to use a lot of these tools in order to try to get the same look. But the thing is, you can still get a film look by using Dehancer. All of this is actually like science-based tools and sliders based off the actual profiles. The thing though is there are some physical things with shooting film and physical things of shooting digital that just don't match. Like Michael, can you talk about that?
Yeah, so if you're looking at these shots, this was shot in the shade. Let me go ahead and get the cursor on screen. So we shot in the shade, and as you can see, this came out really purple. It was really more blue, but it came out kind of purple from the scanner. And I decided that I did not want to correct that. Typically, whenever you develop film, if it comes out really magenta, you might want to dial in a bunch of green. Or if it comes out really blue like this, you may want to warm it up. But as you can see on the digital camera, it actually white balanced and made everything look really nice. That's one of the beautiful things about shooting digital, is that you can re-white balance everything exactly how you want it. And in this case, I did not do any correction for that color. Also, what you'll notice is that you get all the artifacts, you get the dust. I did not click out much of the dust. I just used the automatic dust removal that my scanner has. And there's like other artifacts, like if you are not careful, you can actually scratch the film whenever you develop it. So there's little things like that that you'll see that Dehancer can actually do.
And one other caveat is that whenever you're getting your film developed, color is going to dramatically be different depending on what kind of scanner that the developers are using. So there's a lot of give and take. That's the reason why these don't look like a one-to-one, don't look one-to-one straight off of camera. As well as Dehancer, how they do it is they have basically a color correction that moves whatever pure Rec 709 color correction to their film profiles. So,
and to follow up with that too, there's two main scanners that most film labs will use. There's the Frontier and the Noritsu. Both of those are super common. The Frontier is the more preferred look for a lot of people. It's a very classic look. And the operator who actually scans your film is actually making edits to your film. They're actually adjusting color as they go. So depending on what film lab you go to, your results can vary as well, just from that alone.
But I'm going to show you a little bit about how, like, what tools you can use in Dehancer and how they work a little bit in order to get that film look. But to be honest, we already have somewhat of a film look already by throwing the film stock on. It just doesn't look exactly like if, you know, exactly to our same example right here. First of all, the source, this really just changes the actual like source image that you're putting in. It's not really like if you push and pull it, it's not like pushing and pulling film. The film developer, this you can add some contrast here and change your gamma to make it darker, brighter, less or more. Obviously color boost. A lot of these are going to be very self-explanatory. But
gotta have film compression, dude. I love the compression, the way the highlights roll off. Even though I did keep my highlights pretty bright.
Yeah, to be honest, like right here, they're pretty bright, so it actually makes more sense if we're gonna be matching these one to one, to not actually compress it all too much.
What's so cool is that you're taking all the different elements of film and you're picking them a la carte, like whatever you want from it. You can pick and choose.
Yeah, exactly. Expand is really to change your black point or your white point. This you can, like, you know, basically like pull down your highlights, etc., and also increase your blacks. I guess it's kind of like moving the top and bottom portions of the levels inside Photoshop. Print, this is going to be if you want to put this on different type of paper. To be honest, for our example, it doesn't make sense to use Fujifilm paper, etc., because that's just not what we were putting this on in order to get our example.
I mean, we didn't even put it on paper. This is just a scan.
Did not put it on paper. Yeah, exactly. Color head is kind of like these. To be honest, I don't really know how these work too well. But shadow tone, midtones, and highlights. This is really just adding coolness or warmth to your shadows, midtones, highlights.
Maybe that's how my shadows came out. On some of these darker photos that we did later on the Cinestill shots, I think we got really blue. Yeah. You guys will see.
Yeah. And some caveats here with the film grain. A lot of the film grain, you can select all these different profiles, but the real strength is using the custom for a lot of these different parameters. Right here, like you can like look at like how much grain is on Lori's face. And so we're just gonna match that somewhat here on Dehancer.
That is so cool. And
Dehancer is really cool because it actually recreates the entire image with film grain. It doesn't just add like a layer like on top. But it does like some, I think it does use some opacity, but this is actually a recreation of the entire image.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, which is exactly what film is. It's not, you know, pixels, it's film grain holding color information. So anyways, I think that looks pretty okay. But to be honest, comparing the digital versus the film, like the digital gets that film look already, but it looks so much cleaner. There's just a lot of things with film that is just dirty, it's imperfect.
Yeah. Honestly, whenever I was developing and scanning, at the scanning portion, right, after having seen the digital shots, I just said to myself, damn, this looks like shit.
Damn, this looks like... Yeah.
There's no halation on this. This is not a halating film.
Okay, cool. And I'm gonna add some film damage as well, and you can customize that.
Film damage is important, yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit. And it's really cool if you don't like the way it looks like, they give you an option to like, where is it? To refresh and get like a new version.
Oh, you can see the scratches
Take the scratches
and the dust. So anybody who develops film at home will know that dust is such a huge problem. Like, literally, dust was like the bane of my existence. As I was learning how to develop, I was struggling. And then I got myself a scanner that can use infrared to delete the dust. But before that, man, I was clicking out every single little dust particle. And some people like the clean film look. I like the clean film look, but some pictures just deserve to have dust and scratches. They just look kind of cool with it.
So to be honest, this is really how like it would look like if things were balanced with this, with the Portra 400 look. In order to get this exact same look right here, what we actually have to do is go back into Lightroom, and there's a lot of magenta here, and just adding magenta is not going to get you there. You actually have to add it just in the shadows here, and that's really where the color comes to life. Yeah, exactly. You see it also introduces more contrast as well, so you gotta be careful with that.
So I feel like the best way to learn Dehancer is to take a film picture to compare your picture to, and just dial in every single tool. Play with every tool until you can get it to look the same, you know?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
For sure. And I already made a different version right here in order to match it. And you can see, right, I believe it's, let's see, I think it's around this one-ish, in order to match what our film is like. But to be honest, like, we're not going to go crazy and try to recreate like the exact film look every single time. Obviously, you're not going to have a reference example every time you shoot digital, but showing you actually really can get the same film look off of Dehancer. It just takes a little bit of
honestly, that's
editing.
So unbelievably close.
Yeah.
And like
from this to that.
Yeah. And that magenta look is not necessarily like, super desirable.
Yeah.
Honestly, a good film lab probably would have done a much better job than me at getting the film developed and scanned, but this is just to show you the reality of what film is.
So our next example we have right here is actually this Ilford HP 400, and we'll go over here to the actual version where we have of the R6 shooting this on the Canon, and this is, to save you some time, how it looks like when you you can actually still get that same look. Of course, it's just changing a little bit, changing some settings like the magenta.
That's crazy.
Changing the warmth. But to be honest, it was not too far off when I first applied this this look onto it. You can still get the same looks as long as you know what look you want as well.
Insane, dude.
So yeah, before that, honestly, it really just kind of looked like this, and I just added a little bit of magenta and warmth to it, and now these images are strikingly similar.
So like right off the bat, big difference in the way we both shot it. You shot it on digital, so you had probably a much faster shutter speed and lower ISO, because as you can see, the digital shot, the background's blown out on the film camera. So I have film cameras that can shoot at like 1/4000th of a second shutter speed, but I was using my Leica, which tops out at 1/1000th of a second, and basically I had no choice. Like I don't carry an ND filter for my film camera. I just wing it every time I go shoot because I just love the fun of not knowing if I'm gonna have a good picture. But basically I had to shoot this one at like f/16 or like really like f/13, f/11 in order to get her face to expose. And still, with the differences, this is so close. The tones are close. Really close.
To be honest, like whenever we're going through all of the black and white, the digital ones with Dehancer using Ilford 500, HP 400, they looked better than the film ones, because the film ones kind of like got wrecked. Like just exposure was crazy. You had way more control. You could get more perfect shots with the Dehancer plugin, and you get more consistent results, to be honest. Not saying one is better than the other, but you know, if you want to have, you know, those features and that convenience, then Dehancer is doing a sick job with this. And let's see, and our last example right here is this. This is going to be our Cinestill 800T with the remjet removed, and this is how close we got with several examples.
Wow, that's the best example you made.
Yeah. And
that's crazy, dude.
There's one difference here, and like really it's like, you know, getting the same exact color of the halation right here. is like the real biggest difference between these two, but that was all Dehancer.
Yeah, I'm surprised. So whenever we were setting this up, you know, I insisted. I told Richard, I said, hey, put one of those light bars you have in the back, because the fairy lights in the background, those little, you know, Christmas light things are just not bright enough, because these are like the fairy lights, not real Christmas lights. I think real Christmas light bulbs may be able to halate in this case, but this tube was absolutely perfect for it. And my concern, from what I've seen before, is that a lot of people who do the film look, they tend to add so much halation that everything halates. And that's just not how film looks. You have to understand exposure and know that, like, hey, so Lori is correctly exposed here, so there's no reason for her to halate. Only the highlights, like the light bar. And the fact that it was able to isolate just that thing is crazy to me.
It's crazy how it went from this to basically like just like how our film was. And a little caveat here, whenever you throw this into Dehancer, the default for like the remjet removed halation, etc. is...
It's not automatically applied to Cinestill 800T.
Yeah, it's not exact. Yeah, it's not exact on there. So you really do have to figure it out with like customizing it. Let's see, my presets, what is it, Cinestill 800, 800T. Okay, let's say we have our Cinestill 800, right? Whenever you go to your halation, you can't just throw on like this profile, because this is actually not very accurate to film itself.
Everything's halating.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is halating. And so you do have to customize it. Where is it? Right here. You'd have to customize it, move it to custom, and then use your source limiter to limit it to only the brightest highlights, and that's more realistic to film. And then you can do things like increase your local diffusion and global diffusion and stuff like that. But that's how you would actually get more of the realistic film look with the remjet removed.
Now, the thing about the halations is that I've seen a lot of examples on the internet of people doing the film look, the Cinestill look, and they, honestly, whenever they overdo the halations, sometimes it looks very tasteful. And so, like, it's not that I'm going to compare everything to film in a way where it's like, okay, it has to look this way, otherwise it's not right. It's more like these are just all these individual tools inside a Dehancer that you can use for whatever purpose you want. And this is like, honestly, like super powerful.
This is great. In order for me to get that look, it honestly took like 2 seconds from opening Lightroom and opening Dehancer, and maybe making a couple of tweaks in order to, get these to match. But to be honest, when you throw the profile in already, it already looks pretty much like film. When you add the grain, you add some scratches, and you add the profile. It's really just editing from there. Dehancer really surprised me with this Lightroom plugin, which also, by the way, works with Capture One as well if you're a Capture One shooter, and it also works with Photoshop. So if you guys work natively inside those softwares, I'm super impressed with this, and I tested it. It works with all of them. Wow. Thank you guys so much for watching our Dehancer photography plugins review for Lightroom, Capture One, Photoshop, etc. If you thought this video was interesting, go ahead and comment in the comments below, like this video, and yeah, give us some more ideas for upcoming videos. Thank you guys so much. If you are gonna buy Dehancer, I'm gonna have a promo code in the description if you guys want to get 10% off. I do get paid for that, by the way. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and peace.